Guys, we're back again for another week in sport. And as you can probably see, if you haven't already and been following Ollie and his little journey, you've covered what, 8 games now, mate, over there in Argentina. How's it all going?
Yeah, 8 games in a week, ducking and diving the taxi drivers and just trying to stay as safe as possible. No, it's fun. It's a good time in Buenos Aires, and it's a lot. We've got a week off next week, so I will be feet up relaxing by a pool somewhere. Sam, I know you've had some lovely wet weather. It's still about 25
Yes, no.
degrees here in South America, so I've got you
Yeah,
back.
taxi drivers are safe though. I can try and one up you on that one. But, oh, mate. The competition looks like it's heating up though. There was a shock last night from what I saw.
Yeah, I was doing Gremio, their first home game of the group stage. A lot of the Brazilian sides fielded really weak teams on match day one of the group stage because they were more concerned about the finals of their regional tournament that they have and in the domestic campaign. So this was like, right, the big boys are coming out. Diego Costa's starting up front, for instance, for Gremio
Wow.
last night. This is where we're going to see some fireworks. And Gremio have only ever lost 4 times in this competition on home soil going into last night, and last night was the fifth time ever,
Wow.
losing to, I don't want to do a discredit, but unexpectedly lowly Huachipato, Chilean outfit that were the league winners last year, but don't nobody saw that coming in Gremio. The fans were turning on them very quickly towards the end. A 2-0 win for the Chileans could have been three. I think Gremio had
Mad.
what 25 shots or something like that. But yeah, if you don't score,
Yeah.
you don't get the 3 points in the bag. And look, it's what we watch continental football for the thrills and spills of the Libertadores and the Champions League.
That's what it's all about, though. Is love it when like an underdog or a bit of little surprise obviously comes in there. I know Gremio because that's where Ronaldinho came from. That and obviously like the times of my football manager knowledge. Obviously, that's how I know that team as well. So yeah, that is a bit of a shock. Not really too many shocks last night in the quarterfinals of the European Champions League yesterday. I don't think. I think it actually probably lived up to what people are after. We spoke about Arsenal and Man City. We talked about like the nil-nil, what people maybe were expecting there. Was it going to be a blockbuster or not? Last night saw the Bernabeu, Real Madrid and Man City, a big 3-3 draw, unbelievable game. I mean, that could be a Champions League final at the end of the day when you look at that fixture. And then obviously Arsenal playing Bayern 2-2. Some crazy decisions, Ollie. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch up and actually see some of those decisions there, but do you think it lived up to it? Do you think it was unfortunate that those two fixtures were quarterfinals and maybe not a final or even a little bit even a semi?
We'll see what happens with the other quarterfinals that are taking place in a few hours' time as we're recording this, Sam, because I think this is what the Champions League should be all about. It's the group stage has become a much of a muchness for a large part for a lot of people. I think that's extremely fair to say because of the golfing quality between the haves and have-nots in European football. At
Mm.
least now, at this point in the competition, we're getting 8 of the best teams in European football playing each other, and it has the potential to produce games like this. I mean, I watched a bit of the City game yesterday. I saw Foden strike. I mean, I'll keep going back and forth whether it should be Foden or Bellingham starting as that like number 10 for
Yeah,
England this summer because Foden's goal was an absolute peach of a strike.
unreal.
But then
Yeah.
you look at the Arsenal Bayern game, and considering this is a Bayern side that have been so lackluster in the domestic campaign, for them to go to the Emirates, get a 2-2 draw, I mean, you couldn't have had it much better if you're not an Arsenal fan, shall we say, with Harry Kane scoring from the penalty spot and tucking one away. And look, I've seen the Saka decision. I stand with Ian Wright on that one, I think, which is so peculiar for Ian Wright to be the guy coming out and saying, "No, I don't see it as a penalty."
Yeah.
But we have VAR, look, for this reason, and if it doesn't, in the eyes of VAR, need to be a penalty, then I guess that's what we're going to have to go with. It's objective. It's always going to be contentious. It could be potentially tie deciding, depending on what happens in Munich, but it could also not. So we'll just have to wait and see. Focus less on the past, Sam. All right, I know what you're doing here. You're
No,
wangling
no,
for an angle of
no.
poor
Do you know?
Arsenal. We're so hard done by the
No,
referees. Oh
no,
no.
no. Listen, the Bayern Munich should have had a penalty. I mean, the whole goal kick saga with Raya and and Gabriel. At the end of the day, us as
Yeah.
fans, players, we talk about consistency. You want to know what's a foul, what's not a foul. You want to know what is offside, what's not offside. That was the whole point of VAR, to try and eradicate that. It's still subjected to human error or opinion, unfortunately. But ultimately, the ref blew the whistle to take that goal kick, retake that goal kick. He spots it down. He plays it to Gabriel, picks it up. Um, you
Yeah.
know, you got to look at, and if he gives it, no one's saying it's not. No, I don't think there's anyone
Yeah.
saying it's not a penalty.
Do you think we need officials more like a Kalina was back in the day? Because I don't see many officials commanding that sort of authority and respect. Howard Webb was very good at it in the UK as well. Nobody messed with those sorts of referees. Talking back was relatively respectful compared to what we see nowadays in football. Do we just need stronger officials that I don't even know if it's knowing the rules of the game or not? Because a referee should look at that and go, oh, wait a second. Or because, like in the
mm,
NBA, we give so many people leeway with traveling these days, 3,
yeah.
4, 5 steps sometime we're traveling. Are we doing that as well now in football? Of, well, you know what they're kind of doing. It's the top level. We can't be making a decision like that. So we're
So
just not going to give it.
so on that, I can see why maybe he didn't give it in. If that's his reasoning behind it, I can see like they've taken the goal kick. He didn't like it. He blew his whistle. Gabriel's like, what's going on? Ball's kicked to him. He's like, huh? So I can kind of see maybe that element, and that's maybe giving the game the respect it deserves so it's not I sort of decided on something like that. But you're seen as an elite player, like you shouldn't be making those mistakes, really. So really, in a sense, maybe you should get punished for it. Um, my thing with the referees and needing that, the reason that doesn't happen anymore, you don't have those referees anymore, and I'm hoping the FA don't see this, because obviously I'm under their system and I get in trouble. But
I was going to say, you got to
um,
be careful more.
I really do. Let me say this: at the moment, previously there maybe wasn't a lot of respect. Maybe the respect from players to referees was dropping, and I can
Mm,
see where certain things came in place to try and protect referees and give referees a bit of a level playing ground, to say, well, look, I'm not taking any of that. Here's a booking, or from a
mm.
player or from a manager or whatever. However, what that's now, for me, in my opinion, what's now happened is referees have gone. It swung completely the other way. It hasn't balanced out now, so it's a little bit easier at the top level, where they kind of understand the passion. These top players, they understand that frustration. As you go down the leagues, it's not that. Oh, you can't say that. Book him straight away. It just kills the game, kills the vibe, and it's gone that way. So these referees at the top level, I kind of respect it, because they do still get a lot more. If the players at the top levels, they said what they said in the non-league game, honestly, and I'm talking from step four up, they'd be booked or sent off. There's no
Yeah.
there's no question. So I quite like what he did last night in that, and as an Arsenal fan, I'm delighted by it. But I still like what he did, but it was a penalty. If anyone said to me, "Is it a
Yeah.
penalty?" I'm like, "Of course it is, 100%." Do I like what he did? Yes. I think I can see maybe his reasons behind it. In terms of Saka's one, Ollie, though, um, oh, at first glance, I'm like this. I couldn't believe it, and I was gutted because I couldn't actually watch the game last night. I was managing. I had a game yesterday, so absolutely devastated. But got to see it, and the first time I saw it, I was like, "What? How did we not? How did we not get that penalty?" The more I watch it, the more I see Saka's leg kind of lean towards Neuer. For me
Mm.
to say it's not a penalty, that's me. That would be my decision. I get that. The reason
As a
Saka is annoyed,
manager,
yeah,
I was going to say, as a manager, that would annoy the living daylights out of you if you saw a player leaving his leg out like that, and your keeper is basically then forced to make that contact, right?
so 100%, 100%. And if I'm Saka's manager, I'm infuriated I've not got the penalty, right? So I get, that's the thing. But but I will say this: is it a penalty? I don't think so. I think I kind of respect the referee's decision there on that one as well. my only thing is, and at the start of this conversation, I said about consistency. Okay, so when I look at the hurricanes of when he was at Tottenham, where he puts his body in a place to get the contact. If you look as far as last week with Harvey Elliott's runs a penalty, by the way. It is a penalty. Wan-Bissaka shouldn't go to ground. But if you've
Mm.
now looked with VAR and how VAR is when they slow it down and they make the tackles look worse than it is when they slow it down, they show the tiny bit of contact to give a penalty or give a handball. Well, Wan-Bissaka doesn't make contact with Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott puts his foot into Wan-Bissaka, who's on the floor at this point, and gets the penalty. So this is what I'm saying about that consistency part there. I don't think Saka's one is a penalty. But if I actually break it down and use VAR to look at Harvey Elliott, so I'd be looking at it going, well, Wan-Bissaka doesn't make contact. Harvey Elliott makes contact with him, but it was given. So it's so difficult. It's fine margins, but it's down to exactly what you said. It's someone's opinion, and he didn't give it, and you have to respect it. And I think you know what, it doesn't cost anyone. It's a complete, you know, just put a rubber stamp on it. Boom, done. Next. It's just that now it is a straight shootout on the next two games, which is awesome.
Mm. Yeah, they're gonna be absolute bangers of ties. Whether or not you have VAR still freezes distorting the truth, so to speak. It almost feels a little bit like fake news every so often. If you want to start sounding like the Donald Trump of VAR, don't believe it. It's the worst call. Never seen a call worse than that. We're gonna have the greatest refs, the best of all time. Don't worry. But
That was pretty good, mate. I'm gonna make sure we capture
that's all right. I've been working on that. I've got to do something in Argentina between games.
that.
Just quickly then, Sam, we got Atletico Madrid against Dortmund and PSG against Barca today. This
Mm.
will go out obviously after the game, so I'd like you to put your neck on the line so that you can be wrong as soon as people listen to this.
Is it at PSG the first one?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a draw. It's a draw. Uh, Simeone is honestly, he's different gravy when it comes to that. If I'm Simeone, I do what I do best, make it extremely hard. We don't need to win this game, and if they nick a 1-0 or something like that, great. But I don't think he's looking to do that. He'll look to take that back to Madrid and get the result. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
no, no,
go.
no. Atleti are at
Oh,
home to Dortmund. PSG are at home
oh,
to
oh,
Barca.
scrap that. Sorry, PSG. Okay, P, hmm. Oh,
It's the PSG
Atletico.
Barca that we have every single
Oh
year in
my
the Champions
God!
League. Like it's
Every time.
always
Nah, PSG. PSG. Barca haven't been
okay.
that good this year. I think PSG win this one. I really do. I think they'll just have enough. PSG ain't going to win the Champions League though. I think they beat Barca on this time round. What I do like about Barca, it's not their time. I think they need another
Mm.
season or two. The Brit like blood in these youngsters a little bit as they're doing in that rebuild. I still stand by my Atletico Madrid thing. I still believe that they're
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not they're going to go with the same thing. That's what he does. He does it so well. Also, Dortmund haven't been that great, so actually that could be a 1-0 Atletico. Actually, I think
Yeah.
that's where that goes. I think PSG win. I think PSG win over the two ties anyway, but I think they get a result tonight as well. How about you? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, Atleti at home in Madrid, a 2-0 victory over Dortmund side. That look, they're not a bad Dortmund team at all, but I always fancy Simeone as these are the nights that he's built for as a manager,
Yeah,
both in the style of football and his character on the field and what he brings to the home
yeah,
support as well. I mean,
yeah,
I would love him at any club, Diego Simeone, if I was a football fan and there was a chance to have him as a boss. I think he's fantastic. As for PSG Barca, I mean, it feels like a coin flip because neither of these sides, as you kind of mentioned, are going to win this Champions League. I don't think. I'd love to see Mbappe go out on a high, just as a nice story. But does it feel like a great story when he is still one of the multi-mega million-pound transfers of Paris Saint-Germain rather than the home
yeah,
creation, so to speak, homegrown out
yeah,
of the soil? He's got this affinity with this club. Actually, it would be more romantic if he was doing this with Monaco still and kind of dragging them kicking and screaming to the Champions League quarterfinals every year. So I'll go
yeah.
with PSG. The money shows that. Also, I have a touch disrespect for Barcelona ever since they named the new camp the Spotify new camp. So, sorry Spotify if you're
Yes.
hosting our podcast, by the way, but I can't be having sell out stadium names.
It's not Spotify. It's not Spotify's fault. Not Spotify's fault. They
Yeah,
put
yeah,
a
no,
put
it's
a
not their
proposal
fault. It's
together.
Barca's fault, and that's why I'm
Barca.
against it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You know what? It's wild that one. You know what? You make a great point about PSG, and this is where I kind of still give respect to Man City. Whilst they obviously spent the money, we've seen Cole Palmer come out of that little group there. Obviously, yes, he's gone on to Chelsea. You've seen Phil Foden, Rico Lewis, obviously come through their ranks there. So whilst they've spent money, they've put a lot of money in the background, haven't they, with obviously their scouting, the youth system there. So it's sort of trying to make it more sustainable. Don't know if that's because they know something might come of these 115 charges. Who knows?
Yeah,
But yeah,
I was
they've
about
done
to
the
say they're
work.
such a sustainable club with all those financial fair play irregularities. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
that's a
look,
horrible subject right
PSG
now. That
PSG
one.
are the A team, and Man City are the expendables, right? It's
Yeah,
just hired mercenaries,
yeah.
just hired mercenaries, guns for hire, brought in to win the battle that they need winning. Fair enough, Pep.
Hey,
Look,
and it got
that's what you've
one,
done. There are
won all
some that,
three of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you've done it.
yeah.
It's
No,
fair enough.
no,
All
it's
right,
wild,
Sam,
mate. Yes, mate. Go on.
if you're if you're watching a game like the Champions League,
Mm,
say you get lucky enough to get a ticket,
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And say you end up at the back of that new look Bernabeu in Madrid, which is pretty freaking high up. It's
yeah.
steep, so you're kind of over the top of the pitch, but it's pretty high. At what point do you feel ripped off as a supporter that you're in the stadium, but you're kind of not really? Because we've seen in the last few weeks
Mm,
with the NCAA March Madness, and it's different. Putting a
yeah,
basketball or an ice hockey game
yeah.
into an outdoor stadium is largely different to putting a football game, of course, in a giant
Mm,
arena like the Bernabeu is now. But there is a problem in sports
yeah.
that we are sticking more and more of events in these larger and larger stadiums, and fans are getting more and more ripped off with paying way over the odds for the seats that they sit in. Or is it acceptable, mate, that you pay that money to be at the event and you can tick it off your Instagram list and say, "Oh my God, I was at WrestleMania in Lincoln Financial Field." Oh,
It, if I can't, one, there's two parts to it. If I can't make out who it is that's got the ball or who's in the ring at the time, I'm not interested. I've seen it with boxing. I've seen it with boxing. I'm like, you can't see the jab, you can't get that feel of if that was a knockout punch unless he actually sees you see like little stick man fall into the canvas. You have to be in the whole point of being for me, and I think what it should be is if you're at a sporting event, is being in that sporting event. You know,
mm,
if you're at Formula One, you don't want to be so far away that you don't either hear the car go past, feel that rumble, the vibrations as it goes past you. What's the point? I might as well watch that from TV. If you've got surround sound, boom, you're probably going to get more of an atmosphere. With the basketball, it's the same thing. What if you're? I saw a picture. You're so far back, you can't see. You can't even see the team colors. So what
mm,
don't rip off the fans. I think if you ultimately what teams and organizations for me need to be doing is if you're going to want more fans there, then make more fan zones. So at least they can be around fans, have it on the big screen. So if you want to feel part of it a little bit, you can be involved at the start of any event, lead the lead up and everything around it. And then the organizations put on certain things for fans in there. And the NFL do that a lot of the time. Actually, you do see a lot of stuff
mm.
that goes on. Obviously, the tailgating in and afterwards, they have like fan zones. But to then charge someone, 100 plus pounds or dollars or whatever it is to be somewhere where you have no idea what's going on other than maybe hearing a buzzer or the on-site DJ putting on a couple of tracks. Like, keep your money, put it at home. I just don't. I just think it's a total waste and rip off at this point.
I've got to say, I'm really torn over this one because when I initially saw it, this all stemmed from like an Instagram post I think both you and I saw that was discussing this idea of, fans being ripped off doing this. And I saw it, and my initial reaction is when you see a basketball court in a huge stadium with like the stands are packed, and then they've got extra seating between obviously the end of the normal stands to the basketball court, and you think, God, yeah, if you're at the back of that stand, you can't see the ball, you can barely see baskets being made. What a rip off! That's the worst. And then you think about it a little bit. And being there is something, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Being in the heart of that crowd. What we realized massively during COVID is that sport needs crowds and
Yeah.
supporters there to get people into it. And you will get so much more involved. And I'm saying this as a fan and as a broadcaster when I've done games where you can do a cover a football game where there's nobody in the stands from a TV screen, and you'll be so far removed and involved and
Hmm.
invested in that
Hmm.
game. You can then do the same game or the same stadium with the same number of fans, but you're at the ground. And even just having like 200 other people around you, there's a bit more spark, there's a bit more intensity, and you're there, you're present in the moment. And
Mm.
that does create an experience. And while I
Yeah.
don't necessarily like it as oh, I want to tick it off on my bucket list, and I don't like people being charged 200 quid to sit at the back of Wembley for a world title fight that they're having to watch on a big screen anyway,
Mm.
I do think that putting it in these arenas can sometimes be fantastic for fans to get more people a chance. Think about the kid that like is never going to afford a seat to see the LA Lakers,
Mm.
but think about the kid that then gets to go to SoFi Stadium when they put a Lakers against Clippers game in the middle of SoFi Stadium. There's 60,000 extra seats compared to what the Lakers would normally have. And even if you're at the back, if you price it at a reasonable amount, that kid gets to say, as a youngster, I was there when I saw the Lakers. I got to say I saw LeBron in the flesh, and I got to experience the live intensity of a crowd. And I think that can
Yeah.
genuinely be a beautiful moment. I also think there's an authenticity to some of it of the uniqueness that initially started with it. When ice hockey first started putting the Winter Classics in
Hmm.
stadiums, it was one game a year on New Year's Day, and it was great. You had like the Rose Bowl and the Winter Classic in the same
Yeah.
day or so around that time, and it felt unique. It was retro jerseys. It was, oh my god, look, they've stuck a hockey rink in Fenway Park in Boston.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
trouble is when like it became a cool marketing thing, and so the NHL was like, we're going to do this in 6 different venues a year, and it's like kind of
You,
less.
you know what?
One
You know
Super
what,
Bowl's
Ollie?
amazing. If we had 4 Super Bowls a year, you'd be like,
Oh no, no,
yeah.
not do it. Ollie, I've got to say this. I like that. I like. I think with those tickets though, let's say I don't know, like it's 5,000 seats or something. At the top, what people notoriously call the nosebleeds, right? If they were sold on the day by the clubs or organisations, so that touts and other little companies get hold of, so they can't sell them for hundreds.
Mm,
Let's just say, you know, whether you have to be accompanied by a kid, so at least it's right. You can bring a kid so they get an experience of it, and they're like 20 quid a pop, $20 a pop. All for it, all for it. But my thing at the moment is
mm.
that these seats are going for silly money, getting bought up, and at the end of the day, if the leg was the other way round, for instance, we were drew 2-2 in Munich, and it was coming to the Emirates. I know, like, it's impossible to get a ticket. That's it. It's done. Like,
Yeah.
good luck. And even the tickets, Arsenal's pretty good with football stadium. It doesn't kind of matter where you are in the stadium. Even if you're the highest point, the view is actually okay. But even then, those tickets are going to be 150 quid, like minimum,
Mm.
like still. And it's like, for what? Like, give it to, those ones. I feel like we need to do a little bit more. I mean, I used to go to my local team at the time was Wimbledon at the time, and they were pretty keen on getting people in with the community. It was like, let's get new fans. It's sustainable, having like kids obviously coming in, and it was very much like, bring a kid, they either come free, or bring a kid, it's a fiver and it's a tenner for the adult. like you said, the memories it creates, what it then does for them. They may not even end up supporting like a Wimbledon, like but you get to see your favorite player, like at the time, Ian Wright and people like that. So it was like, it's like that's what you need to bring. You need to bring those memories. That's the only piece at the moment I really am not enjoying with some sports where they're not getting younger fans involved. You don't, and it just becomes adult corporate, and it sucks the life
Yeah.
out of the joy of sport, man. Like you got to be able to do that. Like when my daughter's old enough, she's going to some form of sport. I don't care if I'll find the one that she likes. We'll go. Like I don't care. Like, but I want to be able to do that. I don't really want to be a musician where it's not accessible. So if they could put
Yeah.
those seats, make them more accessible to people so they have a chance, I'm all for it. If you ask me the question, do I like where they're charging the amount of money they are for those? What's the point? Save your money, go and put it somewhere else.
Mhm. Now, there is a sport as well that. So I don't know if you saw it was a practice round at Augusta yesterday, right, Sam?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Tiger Woods is doing his practice round, and the 18th tee is 12, 13 people deep just to watch Tiger hit a practice shot on the 18th at Augusta. Now, bear in mind, cameras and mobile phones are extremely limited at this golf course. Like, you can't have your phone on and with you around the course. You're not allowed to post like fucking selfies, excuse my
No,
language, and all that kind of
no,
stuff
no.
from the.
Yeah.
It is genuinely, it feels so much like a pure old school sporting event, the Masters, because of this. So why I struggle though to work out why, aside from just being able to say, "Oh, I watched Tiger hit a tee shot on the 18th," would you be 12 deep? Because normally people are doing that, and everybody's got a mobile phone up in their hand, and they're taking pictures of, "Oh, I can just about find a gap between the other 3 million phone screens in front of me, and get a glimpse of Tiger with my phone, and that will go on Instagram." It staggers me because golf is a great sport to watch in person. Golf is a nightmare sport to follow either big guys unless you plot your way around the course,
Mm,
or if you are on like a Sunday, it's a nightmare to watch on a Sunday because you might as well
yeah.
watch it on TV. You'll see more of the action. You'll see more how it goes. So, what would drive somebody who hasn't got the social media clout to
Yeah.
sit 12 people back to get half a glimpse of Tiger teeing off in a practice round at Augusta?
I'd do that, mate. You could be 20 deep. If I got a glimpse of seeing Tiger Woods hit a shot, I'm there. That's golf royalty at the end of the day. That is the goat. We're lucky to live in an era where we've got to see some great sport people. But you talked about before. You mentioned Wayne Gretzky, right?
Mm.
No one wants to compare. Tiger's not far off that, mate. In my opinion, I think
Oh
Tiger's
yeah,
not far off. Tiger's not far off that. And for you to be able to get a glimpse, if I got a glimpse of the red Nike tee, as able to strike whether it's off the driver, whatever it may be, I don't care. If I got to see it, I, you talk about
mm.
bucket list, that's one there for a lot of people. If you watch golf, and there was one player you would hope you'd be able to see, it's Tiger. I think a
I
lot of
mean,
the
even if you
players up
don't
there,
watch golf, surely if you
yeah,
don't watch golf, and you're like, well, it's Tiger. Like, I
yeah,
know
the
this.
Tiger. He, I'd probably say he's probably one of the few golfers that, in fact, that walk down the street and everyone would know who he is. They say even if you didn't watch golf, you'd know that was Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And of course you. So in answer, yeah, hell yeah, do everything to do everything to catch a glimpse. 12 deep, that's not even that many. What were you all doing? Why were you not out there watching him? Like it just. I, I'm loving it. You know what I love about the Masters, mate, is that I'm looking at it now. All the build up for Masters, and I've seen more people talking about if he's going to make the cut than actually talking about who's going to win it. It's still
Mm.
all of these competitions. It's still if he's playing, the focus is Tiger, regardless.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, mate, and that just shows you where he is and what he means to golf, right?
Dude, you're not the tallest man on the planet, though. If it's 12 deep, like, I hope you've got a little mini fold up step ladder in the bag or something
Uh,
like that to be able to get yourself
no,
above
I'm
people.
going
I
in.
mean,
I'm
you're
going
a
into
plant.
yeah, I'm going into sniper mode, mate, and just pray I can see through the legs.
Well, get yourself a spotter with you. You and the wife can go to Augusta. She can be your spotter, and you're looking down through the legs of everybody trying to get a glimpse of
100%.
Tiger's shoe.
100%.
mean, in all seriousness, getting to see somebody like Tiger, I don't think I'm ever going to have the chance, considering the kind of career that is now very much on the way out. He's only going to play once a month. He's going to do all the majors for the next 4 months. This one, and then there's obviously the US Open, the PGA Tour
Mm,
Championship, and then the Open finishing up in July. So that's the only time we're going to see Tiger in the next 4 months, so almost half a year of this year. And then he's playing one more tournament each month for the remainder of the season and seeing how
mm,
it goes with all his injuries. I would love to have seen him hit a golf ball, do something, even just walking in his presence. There's a broadcaster I know, Sue,
mm.
who I don't think she'll mind me telling this story of she's at the Ryder Cup reporting for Ryder Cup radio, arguably the greatest job that you could do if you're a golf
Mm.
fan, because you get to be on the course with a microphone and you're describing the shots for the Ryder Cup radio broadcast that goes out around the world.
Yeah.
And she says, tee shots are hit, and she's walking from the tee box down the fairway, and she feels a presence on her shoulder, not even seeing it out the periphery, but feels a presence. And she
Yeah.
looks slightly to her right, and it's Tiger Woods walking almost shoulder to shoulder with her. And she said she's never been so scared in her life being around an athlete, because that is one of the greatest athletes of all
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
golf is such a focused sport, right? That she
Mm.
was terrified that making eye contact with him, not making eye contact with him, blanking him, anything could be
Yeah.
the thing that triggers him to think in his mind, oh, that's odd. Or, oh,
Yeah.
what's going on with that person? And
Yeah.
Tiger's so locked in. He's not paying attention to Sue Thurl. No disrespect to Sue
Yeah.
whatsoever. She's a
Yeah.
phenomenal broadcaster. But
Yeah.
Tiger's not thinking about that. But she was so scared about that. She just walked
Yeah.
down the fairway, like eyes forward, just keep going, just keep going. Oh my God, that's Tiger Woods. That's Tiger Woods. And if broadcasters who are around some of the greatest names in sport can have that feeling about a
Yeah.
player when they're playing their sport, I think it just shows how great Tiger is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. But I'm looking forward to
He
seeing how he gets
absolutely
on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets
he
on.
makes the cut. He keeps the record. He makes the cut at every single Masters he's been at.
It's
Got to.
a it's like a home course for him. To be honest. Like, he knows it, right? So, oh mate, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it is.
Is it
Go on, man. Go
is it
on.
the best major? Which of the four majors, the US Open, the PGA Tour Championship, the Open, or the Masters, if you could win one,
It's the
bearing in mind,
Masters.
they're really
The Masters. You, that green
you take a
jacket.
green jacket over.
Yeah. You know what? I tell you, for me, the green jacket. That is so iconic. The green jacket.
Mm,
I think again, where you respected within your own sport, your own peer group, and that's great. If you don't watch golf, but I showed someone a clip of putting that green jacket on, and someone asked you the question, I'm talking question of sports style. The clip comes up, you
mm,
see someone put the green jacket on for people that have never watched sport in their life, and you went, do you know what competition that's from? Someone will go golf. I really do.
yeah.
I really believe that. Um, if you handed them a particular trophy or a shield of some kind, they'd be like, I don't know what it's from. But the green jacket, that feeling, that's like such a boss move, right? Someone putting a jacket on you, for me, is like, is that feeling is so good. And actually, when you look at the players' faces of those that have won it, you can see it's like a cloak of infinity, right? When that goes on. So that feeling, I would take that all day long. It's the competition as well that I feel like it's that major as well that I think everyone does everything to be in, but everything to play in. They injury or not, doing everything to prepare to make sure they can play in it. So yeah, I think I take the Masters all day long. What about you?
You're,
What is
you're
that? Is
making
that
it
for
sound
you
like
or
it's being anointed into the Avengers or something when you get the jacket put on you.
it?
You've got the
It
Captain America
is.
music behind you and stuff.
It is. It is.
I I look at it, right. I think so. If you could give me any golf course to play in the world,
Yeah.
I'd take Augusta. I'd love to. because it's so difficult. You have to play with a member. Even former winners, they're allowed to come back and play, but they can't bring a guest. If they bring a guest, they have to play with a member. I think it is like it's so difficult to get into the Augusta clubhouse and pull on the shoes and go out and play a round of golf on there. So to get that chance to do that, I think would be definitely top course because if you get it, you have to play it, and you'd be
Yeah.
devastated if you played it badly. I think of all the majors though, I'd take the Open
Really?
because it's like the OG. It's very rare, I think, that the Americans will look across and go, "Yeah, that's nice.
Mm.
That's pretty good." Like the old school, they hate the red coats. That's why they got a
Yeah.
green jacket because they don't like the
Yeah.
red coats.
Yeah.
So they they but they look across at golf in Scotland, the great courses in England, and golf in Ireland, and they go, "Yeah, that's one." And there are a lot of Americans, I think, that
Mm.
would say of all of them, the Open's the one to win because the Claret Jug is so unique.
Mm.
And then the history behind it
Yeah.
at the home of golf on many occasions that it's been played as well. When you think about St Andrews and the number of times the Open's been played there, I think the Open would be the major definitely to win, but Augusta would be the course to play
The course to play.
because you take the
Okay.
history and the difficulty to get on. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm taking if you're offering me an Augusta win at the Masters, I'll take the Masters, obviously, if it's coming, just because I want to do that dinner as well, where all of the former winners get together and the winner from last year chooses the menu. That's
Sound like you're sitting on the
there's
fence,
so
mate.
many.
There's a fence there that you're well and
No, it's
truly
the
on,
Open.
mate.
It's 100% the Open. It's 100% the
Okay.
Open to win one. It's definitely the Open. The Claret Jug if you can win the Open at St Andrews like Cam Smith did in the 150th. I mean, that
Yeah.
is that's GOAT status in terms
Who,
of greatest all-time moments in golf. Yeah.
who have you got? Who have you got winning it? If you're putting your hat on the line right now, who's
Oh,
taking it?
I really wanted to say Rory. I have a couple of quid very early on in the year on Rory. I
Mm.
also really like Joaquin Neiman, just coming
Mm.
across from Live, but he's been in an awesome form
Yeah.
this season so far. It's very difficult to it's really it's really difficult to say. I could go with Rahm back to back, to be honest. I
That
love John Rahm,
I,
and
li- I like.
he's
I think
so
I've got
good.
him. I've got him. He's one of mine. Um, one
Yeah.
of my little
But
bets potentially.
but I'm looking
Is the
at
same.
Bat Batia, who won this week, just gone on the PGA Tour, has been in really good form this year. So he could
Mm.
be an outsider for a top 10 finish. Scotty
Hmm.
Scheffler. The thing with Scotty is putting lets him down. Even though he had
Mm.
this great run at the start of this year, his putting has still got the capability to be iffy. And the
Right.
greens at Augusta are some of the toughest that you'll ever see on the planet.
Forgiving,
Like
aren't they?
it's
Mm.
yeah, they slip away and they are so fast. And unless there's water over the weekend, which I don't think they're scheduled to be, that could really then bite Scotty if his
Mm.
putting starts to go a touch wayward because he's so good tee to green. He's the best in
Yeah.
golf by a mile.
Yeah.
And then look, don't you want Rory to do it? End the drought, get the jacket. I'd love
I'd,
Rory
I,
to be
I'd
adorned
love
with it at the
I'd
end of the
love
weekend.
Rory to do it, but Rory needs. This goes for everyone, but he needs everything to go right. I feel
Mm.
like Rory. I love what he does, but a part of me is like, if it's not going right, I always find him hard to recover. If that makes sense, like
Yeah.
if he's in it and he's like going toe to toe, then hey, something could happen. But if he needs to do a bit of recovery, he's a little bit off the pace. I feel like he's not good at chasing. So that is my only
He's had
thing with Rory.
he's had so many balls up at Augusta as well. So many blowout moments on a
Mm.
Friday, on a Saturday that you're like, is it getting to him that course? But look, we'll see. It's the best weekend. It's a great major to start off major season, and I am going to be sat down, particularly Saturday and Sunday. It's a beautiful city I'm in. Doesn't matter this weekend. Just doesn't matter. There's about 8 hours of golf to watch every day. So
As I look out my window whilst it rains, lovely. Yeah, yeah. Very nice, very nice. But there's obviously been a few other things that have been going on. Um, bringing back to the NFL, and we're getting very close to the draft now. as of recording today. What, we're 2 weeks out basically. Um, but people still making moves. One move
Mm.
that didn't surprise me in terms of the player that moved, because I think there was always a bit of unhappiness, unrest, was Stephon Diggs from the Bills going across to the Houston Texans. What did surprise me, Ollie, and I want to know your opinion of it, was it too cheap for a player of his caliber? And the other part of it was, did you know that they said they will refuse a trade to the Chiefs?
Yeah, I love the Chiefs' refusal. Definitely. You do not put Stephon Diggs in that red. No way do you allow him to get set up with Patrick Mahomes. And look, we have seen it happen in football actually, where players have used one club to get out of another club and then bounce weeks later to another. Zelinski, the Polish attacking midfielder, um, went from like Napoli to Marseille to Roma, I think it was, in the
Hmm.
matter of like 6 months.
Yeah,
So we could end up seeing that, but the landing at the Texans is almost as good a spot to be in terms of young talent. And then he's kind of doing what he did in Buffalo. He's stepping in to be that X factor. And I like this reminds me quite a lot of what the Eagles did going getting Alshon Jeffrey before that year that they went and won the Super Bowl.
yeah.
This is like that, right? We know what we need. We need experience, 100% reliable receiver. And that's what we're getting in a player as Stephon Diggs. Buffalo were kind of happy to let him go, though. I don't think it was too little. Because if you want a guy that's costing you that amount of money off your books,
Mm,
you're kind of going to have to short sell it a touch.
yeah,
But I get the
yeah.
feeling that Buffalo were done with the Stephon Diggs drama, and Sean McDermott isn't really a drama guy. And I don't get the
Nah,
feeling that Josh Allen is a drama guy either. So if
not
you've
even
got a
close.
wide receiver
Yeah,
class coming into the NFL like you've got this year in the draft, you can kind of receivers are ready to go out of college now. We've seen that every single year with Chase
yeah,
and Justin Jefferson, etc.
yeah,
So
yeah.
go and pick up a cheap substitute who might be the guy to take the top off and be the next guy in the NFL. You get rid of Diggs. You give yourself a bit of leeway now with a bit of the kind of playoff vibe of, oh, it's the Bills' time, it's the Bills' time. And all of that pressure now becomes labeled on the shoulders of the Houston Texans and a very young quarterback in CJ Stroud. And actually, while it's great for him to have another threat and another target, it makes it difficult because Stroud's expectation level for what he's meant to get as output next year goes up another notch because the Texans Super Bowl window has just gone from slammed and locked shut to wide open
Wide
for
open.
maybe 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You know what? I gotta say, the Texans, it is a great move. But when I look more into it, this is a big year for them, because from what I saw of the contract with Stephon Diggs as well, is there's almost a break clause at the end of this, so it could be a one season, and then as you just mentioned, it could be the Chiefs, right? After that he ends up, and the Bills can't do anything about it. So it's very interesting that that clause was put in, because that suggests to me like, hey, this is a bit of a 1 year loan move. And they haven't really given up too much for it, right? Um, that'd be my only thing. But Nico Collins, Tank Dell, you've just added Joe Mixon in there, and now Stephon Diggs. The only thing I would say now, there was zero expectations last year of the Texans. Zero. You know, my Cardinals, when we took the first round pick off them, everyone was like, that's a top 10 pick. You're going to have two top 10 picks in the 2024 draft. It's now, that pick is 27. That's the year that they had last year.
Mm.
I just feel like the expectation now with adding Stephon Diggs is huge on the organization. It is huge on CJ Stroud. You've got to go and replicate what you've done. If they do, wow. And they've not just that, they've done okay. They've added a few pieces in the defense as well. And they done all right from that last year. They still have something in the draft to go and obviously stack up. So it is a good move. you can't turn down some if you've got the chance to do Stephon Diggs for the deal that they got, even if it is for a year, because even next year in the draft there'll still be some good wide receiver talent that's obviously coming out of the colleges again. So that's not a bad thing. The Bills, however, Poyet's gone. They've removed quite a few of like the senior heads there. I feel like they needed draft capital to go and actually
Mm.
maybe add not in the wide receiver room. I think there's other pieces they needed to address, and like you said, I think they still be able to get a bargain later on in the rounds as well. It will just be interesting because if I'm Josh Allen, there's also a window on him, right? There's
Hmm.
how long before you either move on from Josh Allen because it's not working, or how long before Josh Allen's like, I just can't see it getting done in Buffalo. When does he decide to move on? So that's actually worries me more than the actual trade itself is what's going to happen with Josh Allen in the future.
I'm hoping, small school Wyoming, Josh Allen, he fits like a glove into that environment in Buffalo. I know a lot of Bills fans that would be devastated if Josh Allen was playing for any other team, and he feels like a quarterback, and it's very difficult to think this in modern day sports in general. He feels like a quarterback that's like a one team guy, or should be a one team guy, a bit like Manning until like the last few years, where it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's a Bronco now, or like Brian Dawkins. Oh
Mm.
yeah, he's a Bronco now. I don't kind of, yeah, I remember that a bit, but he was an Eagle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't want Allen to be have too much put on him
Mm.
because he's barely got a receiver. I mean, his best weapons receiving right now are a pair of tight ends, including Dalton Kincaid. So it's like it's a tough situation for Allen to be in. They definitely do need the
Yeah.
draft capital,
Yeah.
but you can't take anything away over harmony in a team. And if Stephon Diggs is creating a lack of harmony, that's a problem. It was
Mm.
great the first time we saw Diggs stood on the sideline after losing to the Chiefs when they were doing the AFC Championship presentation or whatever. Or I think it was that. And he was stood there and everyone took the pictures and was like, oh my God, look, Diggs is stood there watching it. So he's saying in his head, I'm never going to be in this moment again. I'm going to be in
Mm.
that moment. And it works well once. Actually, it happened in college football that year during one of the bowl games before Diggs did it. So I was
Mm.
a bit like, Diggs just doing what that college kid did a few weeks ago, but we'll give him the
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
He then did it again though, and I'm like, this is just becoming a thing now. Like
Yeah.
you're the guy that's telling yourself the same thing over and over to try and what do they call it? Make it happen. It happens in your mind,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
out in
Stick it in
reality.
reality. Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, but not really, because you got to go and be the guy in the big moments. And
Mm.
and Diggs was the guy in the big moments for Buffalo, but he wasn't the biggest guy in the big moments. He wasn't a Patrick Mahomes type impact. He wasn't a Travis Kelsey
Kelsey.
type
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
100%.
Josh Allen's the biggest guy on that team. Give Josh Allen the weapons, and if you have to lose Diggs to create more harmony and bring in a few extra weapons, that might not be a bad thing. I worry about the Texans as well. Just finally on this from me
Mm.
is CJ Stroud's a 1 year guy.
Mm-hmm.
It gets tougher for quarterbacks in their second and third year when there's more tape on a guy. He was
Yeah.
amazing last year. He was the
Yeah.
revelation of the league without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the NFL's got the best and brightest coaches for a reason. And you don't think there's a lot of people in that division, let alone now on that schedule, going, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's a nice tendency that he does when he rolls to the right. Oh, okay, all right. They'll find it and they'll cook you for it, which is
Yeah.
also maybe why there's that 1 year clause in there for Diggs, because he can be like, man, this kid actually is getting found out in his second year. I might scamper away. But it's the Texans have got to be up there as a Super Bowl contender with
Oh
this
man,
move.
yeah, yeah. I spoke about it not long ago. I just say, hey, you got to keep an eye on him after that trade. Yeah, adding Diggs in there, and it'd be interesting to see what obviously happens in the draft. Which you know what, I always look forward to the draft, but there's so much unknown going on right now. So I'm really looking forward to that. Who's going to trade down? Who's going to sell their soul? It'd be interesting to see obviously what comes of that as well. So yeah, I'm loving these moves, but yeah, the draft could heat up, and we could be talking again about completely different contenders at that point. But one thing I have seen where people are scrapping and sorry, fighting for the cause in NHL, mate. What is happening? We don't even play hockey anymore. It's a completely different sport. We knew that it can obviously erupt in his little fights here, and it does have an effect on the game. It can change momentum, it can G up players, G up the fans. Gloves are off before anyone's hitting a puck. What is happening, Ollie? What's going on?
Hockey is back. Has anybody seen the Sean William Scott movie Goon? Well, Goon's a front and center on the NHL ice right now. We were discussing taunting in boxing and how people were saying it's bad for the sport. And I came to the conclusion last week of actually it's great. You create some attention around the sport. No social media is bad social media attention, it seems, in this modern day age. And it gives you like heroes and villains. And Matt Rempe of the New York Rangers has taken that and turned it up to 11 in the NHL. Had more minutes in the penalty box than minutes on ice in his first month in the
Yeah.
league, I think it was. And now you've got, when the Rangers play the New Jersey Devils, 5 fights straight from the opening puck, all because Rempe and the name eludes me now on the New Jersey Devils were like, they knew it was going down because they'd kind of had a skirmish already this year, but like this was going to be the big one. They both saw they were in the starting lineup for the game. And insanely, they both went over to the bench just before the puck drop to do smelling salts to get like wired up even more for it. And then the puck drops, the gloves, the sticks drop, and it's go time. And the fans are loving it. This is so bad for the NHL's reputation in some way, and it's so good for like hockey fans that love
Yeah.
that edge around hockey. We all played NHL like 96 growing up, where you could put a guy through the glass, where you could drop gloves with people
Yeah,
and start fighting. Well, this is it in reality, and I think it's
it's
so
class.
fun to watch. It makes great clips for hockey.
It really does. So yeah, whilst they might not be happy, someone in deep down is like, "Hey, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing." I think
Yeah.
people are now watching it a little bit more because people are like, they knew about it, but there's been a lot of coverage of this now, and people are like taking note of it. And I think it's only good for the sport, for to get more eyes on it outside of US and Canada. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I couldn't believe it. The fact that it was from the off is just awesome. I just want to know if the officials knew because I you drop the puck and you're like, what is going
Oh,
on? It's like, is that, yeah, like, which one? You know, so,
it's
mad.
it's the idea as well of, when football, I love European football, continental football, when you get fans with flares in the stands. It's
Yeah,
unsafe, it's sometimes done reckless, and sometimes it's used in an awful way. But when it's done in a beautiful way, like the Dortmund fans have a history of doing, the Italian football fans have a history of doing as well, creating these wonderful tifos before kickoff and stuff, it's amazing to me, and I love it. And it's so funny when, as sports broadcasters, you can't really say that on air. You have to be like, oh, there's a flare in the stands. Oh, that's not acceptable. It's obviously
Mm,
health and safety. But there are most, I will tell you now, most football commentators are like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Even though you're not meant to get that in the stadium, your wafer are meant to have tapped you down and everything, but that's kind
yeah,
of cool. And this is the same with hockey, except because the broadcasters, fighting has been a part of hockey, and it's only in the last
yeah.
few years they've tried to like kind of quell it a bit.
Simmer it a
And
little
the
bit. Yeah,
broadcasters on TV are so happy to see this stuff happening. They're calling it like it's a boxing bout for the world title or something when
yeah.
you get these guys squaring off with each other now. They're loving it. And so the
Loving it.
passion comes through from the broadcasters, let alone from the ice and the fans as well, who are banging on the glass like hooligans in the playground or something. It's like when you're in primary school and two kids were fighting in the middle
It's
of like some
class.
chairs and tables, and then people just banging on them and stuff.
It's
It's
class.
unreal, man. It's a proper throwback to to a less sanitized time, I think, in NHL, and I think it's actually working a lot for NHL supporters and diehard fans, both young and old. To be honest, I think it works out quite nicely. And as you say, it's transcending the sport. I never would have
Yeah.
thought in 2024 I'd be talking about ice hockey with you, Sam. Not a chance.
No, no, but again, there's not many people that do talk about it, but I've seen a lot of coverage around it, off the back of some of this now as well. So it's been been really cool. I mean, bring back the Mighty Ducks. They'll reboot that series now and film. Get
Flying
some more
V.
people the Flying V. Yeah, yeah, that's it. They need that. But no, it's honestly unreal to see, and I think I love that it is kind of accepted. And the people obviously
Yeah.
are do that. Oh no, that's hockey again. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. We can let that one slide. But
Yeah.
no, it's awesome. It's been a wild week of sport, and I feel like it's only gonna get busier. You know, the
Mm.
Champions League is heating up, title runs all around Europe heating up. The Masters, as we've just mentioned. There's playoffs, obviously in the basketball, obviously coming through. We've just seen the announcement of the Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles being the first game in South America. Obviously, we knew that the Eagles were going to be there as well. So there's just so much happening right now. So it's a great time for everyone to get involved. And I tell you what, it's probably a great time to potentially pick up a different sport altogether, one that you haven't watched, right? Because there's so much happening. It's a great time to obviously pick that up. So yeah, another week of the week in sport, and it's been awesome. I dread to think what's going to happen as soon as I stop this recording, because like last week, I think we had about three different things happen. So we apologize, we can't cover everything, but this has been our little time frame. We've managed to cover as much as we can. But cheers, I've been Sam, and that's been Ollie.
Tigers just dropped out the Masters. Nah, not really.
Don't do that. Oh, mate, awesome.